The Source of the Suffering of the Poor and the Way to Their Liberation. Xiefeng, February 5, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. I am a poor man, so I know the source of poor people's suffering. Let us not talk about individual people's specific internal factors, but only their external factors. There are three main external factors that cause them to suffer. The first is harsh governance. The second is natural disasters, including diseases. And the third is mutual tormenting among the poor. Among the three factors above, mutual torturing among the poor is the main one. Or it can be said that at least 3/4 of their suffering comes from their mutual tormenting of each other. Who are the poor? Farmers, workers, peddlers, wage earners, migrant workers, public service personnel, cleaners, urban management officers, security guards, police officers, soldiers, teachers, and civil servants all fit the bill. It can also be said that except for very wealthy officials and intelligentsia from all walks of life along with scholars and celebrities, most others qualify. Mutual bullying of the poor is common throughout Chinese society. The poorer they are, the harder they bully each other, and the closer they are to the bottom of the social totem pole, the more cruelly they bully each other. Here are 8 examples. Urban management officers bullying peddlers. Police, even traffic police, setting obstacles. Security guards beating others. Thieves stealing the property of the poor. Civil servants are jealous of and suppress each other. Teachers lecturing and threatening their students' parents. Civil servants making things difficult for others. Soldiers killing other conscripted soldiers. Between relatives and friends, classmates and colleagues, neighbors, villages, locals and outsiders, the mutual torturing and bullying of these poor people are even more untold. The poor should pity and support each other as fellow sufferers, but the fact is that the poor are even crueler when they bully each other, and as long as their income and social status is just a little bit higher, and they have just a little bit more power than others, they will be cruel and merciless to those who are lower than them. They have no compassion at all and even less pity. For example, urban management officers who were originally weak and poor but then got a little bit of power bully peddlers mercilessly and even knock the elderly to the ground. How can this be? If the poor did not bully and torment each other, then no matter how severe the natural disasters and harsh governments became, they would not be able to make the poor feel desperate. If the poor did not bully the poor, then the world would become a paradise. How do we stop the poor from bullying the poor? Preaching is not very effective. Our ancestors preached that people must understand benevolence, justice, etiquette, wisdom, and trust, and they must care for each other and live harmoniously. Various religions teach people to self-discipline, fulfill their rights, be loving and conscientious, and not hurt each other. But what actually happens? For thousands of years, bullying between the poor and the poor has never ceased or even decreased, and endless incidents of the poor bullying the poor every day abound. So what is the problem? The problem lies in private ownership and in marriages and families. Everyone understands the truth, but the reality is that persecution is more severe than the truth. In the face of money and vital interests, moral preaching loses out overwhelmingly. Most choose interests over morals and conscience, and therefore it is only by dispelling people's anxieties and fears about food, clothing, shelter, birth, old age, safety, sickness, and death that bullying among the poor can be turned around. It would be absolutely impossible for any single teenager or young adult to not long for intimacy with someone of the opposite sex. The best cure for their lovesickness would be to provide them with accessibility. If you prevent them from connecting with someone for the affection that they require, but instead instill moral consciences into them and teach them about Buddhism and saints, it would be like seeking fish from trees. So, how do we eradicate the phenomenon of the poor bullying each other? Let them all enter into a communist society. There, this phenomenon would disappear. When people think of communism, they do so instinctively as either an impossible, utopian fantasy, or they denounce it as an evil spirit aligned with the devil. Today, few people on a global scale believe in communism because of all the slandering against it. Even very few of the so-called communists who swear to fight for it actually believe in it. They consider it to be just a slogan, a pretext, or an unrealistic ideal. They take an oath, but they have no intention in their own hearts of fighting for it. In China, Suppressing our communist community, the new oasis for life created by Life Genuine, is the most obvious example. Is it not ironic that the Communist Party suppresses our communist community? True communism is not an unattainable ideal because it was realized in China long ago and has been in operation for 11 years. It is the new oasis for life, where everyone is poor, but the phenomenon of poor people bullying other poor people has disappeared because they are also wealthy beyond their dreams. And the more honest, sincere, and diligent the people are, the more they are respected and cared for, because everyone's food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, old age, sickness, and death concerns have been eliminated. So, why should anyone bully anyone else? They do not. In the new oasis for life, boys grow into responsible, masculine, and modest gentlemen, and girls develop into caring and tender gentlewomen. Children grow up happily, and the elderly enjoy their twilight years. It is thoroughly beautiful. My conclusion is that if the poor want to end their suffering and the tragedy of the poor bullying each other, then there is only one way to go, and that is to join our pure, communist society.